Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show, and on today's show we are going to be talking about the Aegis Eclipse. Now the Aegis Eclipse has been one of these ships that since its introduction, there's a lot of ships out there that are controversial for one reason or another, but the Eclipse is generally something that the community kind of agrees upon in the fact that there's a lot of promise in this ship. This ship holds a lot of potential. However, as everybody I'm sure is well aware, simply buying a ship doesn't automatically grant you omniscient power over other players. It's kind of why when people make the pay-to-win argument in regards to Star Citizen, I always kind of say, pay to win, not really. Pay to advance is what I would consider this system to be, because I mean, quite frankly, you could take one of the biggest ships in the game. You could make it let's say a javelin. You could put a javelin in the hands of a completely shitty player, and that javelin is worthless. It's essentially a dead ship. It's a bullseye out on a field just waiting to get shot up, whereas you could put a javelin in the hands of a very good player and that is completely a different story, or at least we hope it will be. The Eclipse is very much the same story. When you look at it, they talk about the guns on it. Well, let's be honest, it might as well not have any guns for the guns that it has. And all the use that they're really going to be, probably not that much. Though, truthfully, I could see some applications for them, particularly if they're distortion weapons to help bring down the shields just a little bit more on that final run in. But truth is, you'll probably end up releasing your torpedoes at a fairly long range and then getting out of there, so you have less exposure to risk after firing your attack. Now, some people might look at the Eclipse and say, well, what value does it really have? You can buy a Retaliator for less that carries more torpedoes and therefore hits harder. What's the real value in the Aegis Eclipse? And well, the real value isn't something that's immediately visible. It's an intangible. It's the element of surprise. It's the lack of visibility of the Eclipse that makes it so valuable. That's the real strength of this ship, is because it can be an unknown element on the battlefield. It's like a chess piece on the board that only you can see and your opponent can't see until it's too late if you use it skillfully. And that's generally where I kind of argue against the idea of pay to win, because anybody can buy a ship, but can anybody really fly that ship to its potential? I mean, you could take a ship like a Javelin or an Idris and you could put it in the hands of a complete idiot and it's worthless. Whereas if you put it in the hands of a pilot who's really going to take the time to think things through and make smart actions and take smart steps during battles, that Idris is probably going to be a lot more valuable. Now, from a pirate point of view, I don't think that the value of the Eclipse is an immediate value. I don't think it's something that you would use every single day, simply because its primary armament is torpedoes, and torpedoes cost money. So I think it's more an important tool to have, but a tool that will probably be left in the toolbox more often than not. Overall, I think that on an individual level, the Eclipse is probably not going to be all that amazing in the hands of a singular pilot using it all alone. The expense of operating it, because those torpedoes cost money, especially from a pirate point of view, are probably going to be a little bit on the prohibitive side. But if you're in an organized group with other Eclipse pilots, I think the stealth combined with group tactics I think it's going to multiply the value much better than if you were to, say, operate a few Retaliators. A Retaliator is going to cost less than an Eclipse, and a Retaliator is going to have more torpedoes than an Eclipse, but the Eclipse's ability to sneak in at the right moment and deliver a devastating blow, especially in a group, if that's how you employ it, is going to be much higher than, let's say, just having an upfront Retaliator that your enemy can see right away. From a pirate point of view, I think one of the bigger fears that some people might have is the idea that, oh, what happens if we're pirating in a certain area, so-and-so gets sick of it and they decide to bring over a couple of Idrises and a whole bunch of escorting fighters and they just want to stop us from pirating. Something like the Eclipse might let you slip behind enemy lines and go attack them where they're weak in a different system while they're over in that system looking for you. So they could be out patrolling saying, oh, we know that they like to pirate over here in System A, and meanwhile they have some kind of financial operation or a mining operation or a cargo hauling operation over in System B. You slip past them and you hit them in System B where their forces aren't, and you kind of build up that idea in their heads. It's like, if we ever bring a big fleet over to try and engage these guys, they slip past us and they hit us where we're weak, where we're most vulnerable at the worst possible time. And then we have to jog all the way back to try and catch up with them, and by then they're gone, they've disappeared, so there's really no point in engaging them in the first place. It's that sort of capability, that possibility, where I think the ship sees its real value for pirates. It's kind of almost like a bit of a nuclear deterrent. It's, you know, if you come and mess with us, we're going to use this thing to evade you and mess you up where you least expect it. Even if you choose to engage in a direct confrontation, let's say you know that these guys are out looking for you. They've got an Idris, they've got some escort fighters, so maybe you hang something juicy in front of them, like, oh, here's one of our pirate caterpillars and it's being escorted by a few, you know, Aurora Legionnaires or something like that. Something definitely not intimidating. And they see that real ripe, juicy target. Some people might be tempted to take those escort fighters and chase them down and disable that caterpillar and destroy those escort fighters and, you know, show those pirates what's what. And they get drawn out and they go chasing after those ships. And then these Eclipses sweep in and flank that Idris and attack it with torpedoes. It's one of those ships that, you know, it gives you that flexibility. There's a million different variations on ideas and tactics that you can use with this ship that I think could make it very profitable to have as a pirate, though it wouldn't be so much in terms of financial profitability, but success on the battlefield profitability. It's more something to dissuade anybody from interfering with your day-to-day operations. It's that kind of profit that you would derive from it, and not so much, I think, direct financial profit when you're expending Class 9 torpedoes to disable ships. Probably not the best way to do business. So overall, as a pirate, I would consider the ship something that's nice to have, but not something that is necessary or something that you should basically melt anything you own to get. I don't think it's that ship, but I think it is going to be a ship that when it's needed, it is going to be quite valuable. Though there are other options out there. There's the Gladiator, the Retaliator, the Harbinger. And those are all fine ships. It's just this combined with stealth, I think, has a unique capability, especially if used in a group with other Aegis Eclipses. And that's really where I would like to leave the Aegis Eclipse. If you're in an org, pirate or not, where you have a dedicated group of pilots who own this ship, who really want to work out tactics and really want to develop themselves as kick-ass Eclipse pilots together and work together as a team, you're going to get a ton of mileage out of this ship. And you're going to have, I'm sure, a heck of a time flying it. But if you're all by yourself, or if you're in an org that's mostly doing a lot of mining or something like that, then chances are it's a cool ship to have, but the biggest enemy that it's going to fight is probably rust and dust in your hangar. So with that, I'm going to end this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.